every single card for the Whiz Bang Workshops mini set, which I can't remember the name of for the life of me. I'm just going to call it Dr. Boom Sweat House, has been fully released. I haven't seen a ton of these cards, starting with Death Knight, but I'm going to kind of go through every single card, even if I've seen it, and talk about whether or not I think they're going to see play. This metagame has been weird because Reno is, still a big presence. Bran is pretty impressive for late game strategies, and there's a lot of really fast ways of killing your opponent. So this will be really interesting to see what the mini set is going to bring. Starting off with Death Knight, Foam Render, 5 mana 5/1, 1 unholy. Whenever your hero attacks, spend 3 corpses to gain 1 durability. This is a really interesting card. It probably gives you some late game assurance for some slower Death Knight decks. I do like the fact that it is 1 unholy. I'm really glad that it's not just like a neutral Death Knight card, because this could be a little bit troublesome, maybe in Frost. But I feel like you're going to go for like Rainbow here, almost guaranteed. Probably a good card. Might be better just to discover off the 1 mana pool. I'm not too sure whether or not you actually want to put this in your deck, but if you need late game assurance, this is probably great. I will also say that Viper stonks when severely up. Helm of Humiliation, 4 mana 2 blood. Okay, this better be a sick card. Give a minion -5/-5. Give a minion in your hand +5/+5 in a shadow. I mean, that's not bad. That's a lot of buffs, but you're spending your whole turn in some kind of like slower buff deck to really remove something. And this is also a really strange card because it may not kill something outright. You need a minion to actually hit. And if you're hitting your own minion, it doesn't feel really great. I don't know if this is going to actually see play. It might be okay from like discovering, but do you really want to go 2 blood for this? Probably not. I could maybe see a deck with Foam Render and Helm of Humiliation, maybe for a late game strategy here, but I think this is pretty bad. Hand buff Death Knight hasn't looked super great to begin with. I'm not a huge fan. Toy Snatcher Geist, 3 mana 2/1, 1 unholy, Gigantify, Battlecry, discover an undead, reduce its cost by this minion's attack. So the first one you get is reduced by 2. Gigantify is the 8/8. So then that means you get an 8/8 and you reduce an undead by 8. The problem is like there's a lot of really bad undeads. Oh, look at this nice graph from Hearthstone here. My God. I think I don't even need to go to the graph to kind of talk about this though. I do think that the problem with this card is there's so many undead in the pool. Like if we go to a standard and see how many undeads there are, you're going to be like, wow, this card's probably really bad, because you're not going to get something that's like inherently great. 61. Yeah. See, that's a ton, right? The variance is insane. Like this is on undead. Like you never want to see that in your discover pool. Maybe this card sees play. I'm not 100% sure about this. I think the variance might be too much for this card, but people will probably definitely try this one out. Probably definitely. This one, I think this is the best card that Death Knight got. All right, Demon Hunter. We've seen these before. Gibbering Reject. 4 mana 3/3 after your hero attacks, summon another Gibbering Reject. I think this card's unplayable. Maybe if it's discovered from the window shopper, you pick it, but I think it's really, really bad. Return Policy. 3 mana, discover a friendly death rattle card. You've played this game, trigger its death rattle. I don't think this is playable. The problem with this card is like there's no death rattles you really want to get for Demon Hunter. Most importantly, if you're going to use this on the weapon, which it does work, you have to hope that you didn't draw both your window shoppers. Doesn't feel great. Probably won't see play unless there's better death rattles for Demon Hunter. Sock Puppet Slither Spear. 1 mana 1/3. This minion's attack is improved by your heroes, and it's a Naga. Really good card. I actually think this is one of the best cards of the mini set that I've seen so far. Will probably be played in some kind of Demon Hunter deck, especially a Naga variant of it with the Sharpshooter Blind Eye or whatever the hell it's called. I think this card's really, really strong, really good in aggro, really good in almost every single Demon Hunter deck. I'm sure it'll see play at some point. Druid. I'm sorry, I'm like I'm full raw dogging this because I'm too lazy to cut it. So I hope this is fun. You get to see some non-edited Rarran. Toyrantis, 6 mana 7/7, taunt, elusive, battlecry. If you have 10 mana crystals, gain +7/+7 beast. I think this is horrible. I don't think this is ever going to see play. Even a 6 mana 7/7 with taunt elusive isn't that great. A lot of the time, this isn't going to do much. If you do get to 10 mana crystals and you get a 14/14 for 6 mana with taunt elusive, it might be okay. Most of the time, I feel like Druid could be better, but against certain decks, this will be really troublesome. I just don't think most of the time it's going to be that relevant. I don't think it's going to see a ton of play. The fact that it's a legendary too is kind of sucks. Overgrown Beanstalk, 3 mana, summon a 2/2 treant, draw a card for each treant you control its nature. I think this is an okay card. I don't know if there's really going to be a treant deck that supports this, but if you have at least one treant on the board, it's not that bad. It's basically Arcane Intellect, summon another treant. Most importantly, if you have two treants on the board, then we start to cook. Needs a treant deck. Not sure if there will be one, but at some point, if there is one, I think this card does get played. Snuggle Teddy, 3-mana 2/4, Gigantify, Elusive, Lifesteal, and Taunt. This is what the big boy looks like when it's gigantic. I think this card's fine. I think this one's unplayable. Maybe, right? I think maybe you put this in your deck, but really what Druid deck wants this? I'm not even sure. The really awkward part is in the same turn, you can't go Snuggle Teddy into this unless you've played the guy that gives you 11 mana crystals. So it's just so slow and awkward. I don't see it in Arena. This probably goes insane. All right. Oh, I could just go through like this. That's even better. Product 9, 5-mana 4/4 Battlecry, recast every friendly secret that triggered this game. It's a mech and beast. Really powerful effect. I'm kind of covering up the secrets with my camera here, so I'm just gonna hide myself. But yeah, these are some really, really good secrets in here. We're gonna talk about Bargain Bin in a hot second, but I think Hunter actually legitimately has some good secrets to play in Standard currently, which means I do think Product 9 will see play in something. There's also some other secret support cards currently in Standard. I guess it really depends on whether or not the deck is consistent enough, but 5 mana to maybe cast 5 secrets is really, really powerful. So I think this card can see play. Wilderness Pack, 1 mana, add 5 random beasts to your hand at the end of your turn, discard them. I don't see this card ever getting played. The problem is there's too many beasts and a lot of the beasts are really bad. Maybe in like a late game strategy, you just want this for extra value. Maybe at a top, or not a top end, but like you put this in an aggro deck so you have more threats. I feel like a lot of cards are better than this. I think this is an Arena card purely. I don't think it's going to see any play. Bargain Bin, 2 mana secret. After your opponent plays a minion, spell, or weapon, draw a card of the other 2 types. I feel like this is going to be an auto include in a lot of Hunter decks. 2 mana to draw 2 is already pretty great. And the fact that it's a secret is really annoying because then your opponent has to think about, do I give them the weapon or spell? It makes them really annoying for them if they want to play for it. Really strong card. I'm a big fan. Dark Moon Magician, 3 mana 2/4 elusive. After you cast a spell, cast a random spell that costs 1 more. I think this card has potential. I really hope it's playable because it's kind of a funny effect. Realistically, I think the more annoying part about this card is coming from the Spot the Difference card where they summon 2/3 drops and no minion mage. The fact that this is elusive is really cool too, because that means that it can't target itself, whatever spell it casts. Really, really cool, interesting, fun random effect. Probably not going to be competitively viable, but potentially there is some funny, wacky things that are going to happen. Malfunction, 2 mana, no minion mage spell pretty much. Deal 3 damage split among all enemy minions. If your deck has no minions, deal 3 more, and it's arcane. I think this card's really cool. I think it's really strong and no minion mage, which is lacking some early removal. That feels like the worst part about the game because it does have late game strength. Maybe this is enough to push no minion mage, over the hump that it's currently facing. Probably not. It's probably still going to be a pretty whatever deck, but maybe I'm surprised. I think in a vacuum, this card's very, very good. Buy one, get one freeze, 3 mana, freeze a minion, summon a frozen copy of it. I don't know why they made this card. Reverberations is just better in every way possible. I guess the one caveat to this is like, you don't get pinged or 1 damage to kill your reverb copy, but what are you copying that Reverberations couldn't do? If not like way better with Reverberations, because if you do this with a Titan, you don't get to use its ability because it's frozen, but with Reverberations you can. I think this card's really bad. I don't know why they made this, I'm gonna be honest. Flickering Lightbot with his huge dong, 3 mana 3/5, or I should say gigantified dong. 3 mana 3/3 Gigantify, cost 1 less for each holy spell you've cast this game. This is the gigantic version of it. It's a mech, which is relatively important. I think this is going to be an okay card at some point. I'm not sure if we really need to play this card now. I feel like Paladin doesn't need this kind of mech synergy right now. But in the future, with holy spells getting more prominent in the standard pool with more expansions, I feel like this card definitely has a time and place. Holy Glow Sticks. 4 mana lifesteal, deal 4 damage, cost 1 if you've cast a holy spell this turn, and obviously it's a holy spell. This is a good card. The fact that it can go face for Paladin is a really big deal. Paladin often struggles with like burning out your opponent. This is good. I think it's going to get played. I'm pretty confident it's going to get played. It's also just a lifesteal effect that probably clears a minion, and most of the time you can make this cost 1. Good card. Whack-a-Dole. 1 mana, discover a Paladin weapon from the past. Give it +1/+1. We actually went through on stream the amount of cards that Paladin can get from this, and most of them are pretty mediocre. Now, that being said, giving a Paladin a weapon that does have +1/+1, there's some pretty decent ones out there. They're not all bad. And often bad weapons with +1/+1 are pretty good. So will this card get played? Maybe. I think for the most part, you probably still want to use the weapon that Paladin got from Whizbang's workshop. I'm not too confident in this card, but I think I can definitely see it at some point maybe getting played. Maybe in like Highlander Paladin, right? Priest, delayed product, 4 mana, discover and summon a minion that costs 8 or more. It goes dormant for 2 turns. When I first read this card, when I posted it like early on this channel, I only read it that it gets 8 cost cards, and shout out to Hearthstone once again for just giving like all the cards that you could possibly get here. I think this card's trash. Most of the time you're not happy with the pick, and yeah, for 4 mana, I guess maybe you could do like something okay most of the time. But I feel like Priest wants to do something else. This doesn't really fit into anything great either. I'm just, I don't know. The potential high rolls here are like, this is fine, this is fine, this is fine. Like Yogg's pretty sick, I guess, when it comes out of dormant, but I don't know. Just do something better. Puppet Theater, 4 mana location, choose an enemy minion, get a 1/1 copy of it that cost 1. I'm pretty high up on this card. Maybe not currently, because I don't know what Priest really needs this for the time being, but I do think it's very powerful. The fact that you can put this on the board preemptively, knowing your opponent's going to play something very good. You take the minion and then it costs 1. Most of the time, you're going to steal a minion that has a really good battle cry or some kind of effect. I can see this with like Dino, what is his name? I was going to say Dino Tamer Brand, but the new brand from Warrior, maybe Rhea Straza, or like, I don't know, some really powerful card that could potentially just win you the game for if it costs 1 mana. I don't know if there's a deck currently for this, but again, in the future, I could definitely see this being played. Funhouse Mirror, 3 mana, summon a copy of an enemy minion. It attacks the original. I don't think this is that bad. I think it's pretty good for like Titans. Kind of like a Reverberations with like extra steps, maybe. I think it has potential. I'm not sure if it really fits an archetype currently for Priest. That's the really big problem with Priest right now, is control doesn't feel great because other decks just out control you. And you can't really go for like, you can't really put this card in like anything else, right? So what is it really going to do? Hopefully Priest gets a better win condition comparatively to other classes, but at the moment, I'm not feeling optimistic on Priest. Dust Bunny for Rogue, 3 mana, 3/2 battle cry and death rattle. Add a random piece of junk to your hand. It is either a coin, a rock, a banana, or a wicked knife, which is very strange because I don't think they've ever used wicked knife in a card before. I could be wrong. I think most of the time you're happy with this card. Like getting a coin or a rock is pretty great. The banana is probably arguably the worst one, but it's okay. And wicked knife. The real thing about this is that all of these proc combo, which is very important for the next card, not this card, Twisted Pack. 1 mana, add 5 random cards from other classes to your hand at the end of your turn, discard them. Probably unplayable in standard unless you really want to go for like the full thief package. Realistically speaking, this card's probably going to be really good in wild with Bizarre Burglary, the quest that they got from Servants of Uldum, because you complete that quest in 1 turn, but I don't know how relevant that really is in wild. In arena, this is probably okay. But this card, Dubious Purchase, 4 mana, draw 3 cards, combo, destroy a random enemy minion. At first glance, I wasn't really optimistic on this card. Secret Passage as a card that draws has kind of ruined draw for me. But in hindsight, looking back at other cards Rogue currently has, this probably will see play. And it gets even better with a card like this, where potentially you have like a rock, you deal damage to something, and then you draw 3 cards and kill another random enemy. Rogue also just really likes the draw. So I think it's going to be played for sure. And for sure, not if not now, later in time. Shaman, Murloc Growth, 1 mana, 1/1, Gigantify, Battlecry, summon a Tiny Fin with rush and stats equal to this minions, and it's a Murloc. I think this card's very good. Even in a non-Murloc deck, I don't even think it's that bad. It's just a good 1-drop, and it gives you the benefit of having the gigantic version of it, which later in the game does give you an 8/8 with rush on top of an 8/8, and they're both Murlocs. At some point, if there's a Murloc deck this will see play, this will probably see play in wild if there's Murloc synergy, but as a card, I think it's very good. I think it will see play. Rocket Hopper, probably the most interesting card in this entire like mini set that I've seen so far. I haven't seen Warlock cards yet. I'm really excited to see him. 5 mana, 10/10, Rush, Overload 4, and it's a beast. 4 mana, 7/7s are a thing of the past when you can have a 5 mana, 10/10. I actually don't even think the Overload is that bad. There's a card currently in standard that helps you mitigate overload. So If you really want to run this card, it's not the worst thing in the world. I also think it's just really cool to like evolve into, which is maybe why they made this card. If this is playable, I would be surprised, but I also wouldn't be surprised if people are trying it out at the start of a mini set because of the fact that like it's just a cool card. Probably in Highlander is where it's going to see most of its play, but maybe a brand new deck arises because of the Rocket Hopper. Really funny card though. They're really pushing. I can't wait for the 6 mana 2020. Really excited for that. A Wave of Nostalgia, 5 mana, transform all minions into random legendary ones from the past. This is a nature spell. This is really important because it makes Nature Shaman worse, which I am not a huge fan of that deck just because of its playstyle. Most importantly, it is there for transforming, probably for your opponent's minions rather than yours. I think Shaman really misses Primordial Wave, and this is a good way of just transforming minions on average to just a worse card, because there's a lot of legendaries in Hearthstone. Doing like the top 100 video for cards has really shown me that there's a lot of like really mediocre cards. So I wouldn't play this card for the benefit of your board. I would definitely play this more to transform your minions. It might see play. I'm not too optimistic on it, but it is there if you need it. Warlock. All right, let's see what we got. Infernal, 4 mana, 6/6 taunt. Battlecry, set your hero's remaining health to 15. It's a demon. That's a really cool card. I think this is probably going to get played more into like the aggro, like damage yourself variant, because you can get Molten Giants out pretty fast. But in a late game Warlock deck, if you're really hurting yourself and you know that you can't really overheal to like 10 or anything, going to 15 is fine, and you get a pretty good body from this. I actually think this card's very strong. I like the Infernal with the megaphone. Really cool card. Actually, this card's really sick. This card's probably seeing play. It's a demon. I don't know if that's really relevant, but a 4 mana 6/6 with taunt with a bad battle cry. I think it's really good. Domino effect, 3 mana, deal 2 damage to a minion, repeat to the left or right, dealing 1 more damage each time. So I'm going to assume that this works like Rolling Fireball, which had basically the same text. This is a pretty good clear if that's the case. I do like the fact that you get to kind of manipulate what side it's going to go to. You probably play this on like the most right or most left. I'm also a huge fan of cards that really make you think about like, do they have domino effect in their hand? They might. Cool card. Probably going to see play in some kind of slower Warlock deck if there is one. Not sure if there really is one right now. Maybe like Wheel of Death comes back because of a card like this, but I'm not sure about that. But at some point it probably sees play. Mass Production, 1 mana, draw 2 cards, deal 3 damage to your hero, shuffle 2 copies of this in your deck. Holy moly, that's awesome. 1 mana, draw 2 is obviously very strong. Deal 3 damage to your hero for Warlock is whatever. Shuffle 2 copies of this into your deck. That's a problem later in the game because you definitely don't want to keep drawing into this. It's a counter fatigue measure, but I mean, this is Hearthstone. Who gives a shit? I also think like this is a type of card that works really nicely with a card like Wheel of Death, where it just removes your deck entirely. So you draw to your really good cards and then you can get rid of it after. Or if you really need it, you can just play for anti-fatigue. It's a tough card to evaluate because I do think 1 mana draw 2 is actually really strong, and like dealing 3 damage to your hero is completely negligible for Warlock. There's so many ways to utilize this. I think this is good. I have no idea how to evaluate this card. Let me know what you think in the comment down below. I think this card's cool. Really interesting design. Okay, Warrior I think got some spice here. Safety Expert, 10 mana, 8/8 rush, Death Rattle shuffle 3 bombs into your opponent's deck. It's a mech, obviously. Dude, I don't think I've ever talked this fast in my life, and I swear to God, I didn't have like any energy drink or whatever. But I don't think this card's playable because it's very slow, unless because like it's just a bomb. Like who gives a shit about like 1 bomb? Or I guess it's 3 bombs, but like you could do better stuff with Warrior. Warrior has like Odin and Reno and Boom Boss, you know. So whatever, it's fine. But we're gonna talk about this card in a second. Part Scrapper, 2 mana, lose up to 5 armor. Your next mech costs that much. The dream is you go Safety Goggles for 0 mana because it gives you 6 armor. You play this card to follow up, and because this card doesn't say this turn, you can just save your mana for next turn. Next thing you know, maybe you got this guy in play, or you play a better mech. I think this card will see play for sure. I'm not sure about this boy. There might be just better mechs for you to do. Standardized Pack, 1 mana, add 5 random taunt minions to your hand. At the end of your turn, discard them. Let's be real here. There's no way this is playable. This Warrior has too many good things to do for this card to see play. Arena, probably okay. This card scares me though. All right, neutrals. The Replicator Anator. Dr. Doofenshmirtz had his fun. This expansion, 5 mana, 5/5, miniaturize, gigantify. After you play a minion with the same attack as this, summon a copy. So you get the 1 mana, 1/1 copy, and then you also get the gigantic copy of it. This is a cool card. I do think there's a lot of like thought that goes into your deck building when you put a card like this in. It might be just too weird to really play it because you have to play it and then hope you have another minion to do it with. I don't think the gigantified version is really that great. Now, that being said, the mini version I think has a lot of potential. One of the first cards that comes to my mind is the Titan from Paladin. It has a 1 attack. So you play this into 2 Titans. That's kind of spicy. I'm sure people will figure out a way to really utilize this card, but I'm not optimistic on it. But again, I wouldn't be surprised if it sees play. Puppet Master Dorian, 4 mana 2/6. After you draw a minion, get a 1/1 copy of it that cost 1. Me personally, I think this card's going to be very good. I think there's too many ways for you to abuse an effect like this, and it might just decide games on its own. I'm really hoping that's not the case. But this is a weird card because I feel like often it's going to be like turbo broken or it's just not going to be playable. Like, I don't think there's really an in-between for this card. I'm leaning towards the fact that it's going to be turbo broken. I think a lot of people are too. I'm scared for Rogue. I'm scared for Druid. I'm scared for basically any class that can play this and then tutor into a minion. There's just too many spooky stuff. I think Druid's really going to abuse this and it's going to be a problem because of their Titan, Eonor with mana cheating and cost 1. That's not something I really want to deal with. I think it's going to be very, very good. I think it's going to get nerfed if I'm going to be honest, but maybe I'm wrong. Pro Gamer, 2 mana 2/3 Battlecry. Challenge your opponent to a game of rock, paper, scissors. The winner draws 2 cards. So obviously rock, paper, scissors. This works in the sense of like you play this card and then your opponent gets to make their decision at the start of their next turn, which is cool. I think this card is really bad because you don't ever really want to put in a card that draws your opponent 2 cards if you lose. And it's people are gonna be like, well, just be a better gamer. Yeah, but like you're gonna lose sometimes and then it's gonna feel horrific and then you're gonna take it out of your deck. I think the card is really cool to have in Hearthstone. I think it's one of the most interesting designs they've ever done. And it's really cool that they're like going above and beyond to add effects like this. I just don't see it. I don't know if it's going to be good. It's so hard to evaluate a card like this. I don't think it's playable, but I'm sure people will play it. You know, you got it. Okay. Building Block Golem, 5 mana 6/3 rush. Death Rattle summon 3 random 1-cost minions. I think it's an arena card. I don't think it's going to be played. Maybe I'm wrong, but for the most part, it's probably an arena card. Explodinator. Or Explodinator, I should say. 3 mana 2/4. At the end of your turn, shuffle a bomb into your opponent's deck when drawn and explodes for 5 damage. I think this card is really interesting because technically speaking, you could protect the shit out of this card and then your opponent just can't interact with it and then just keep it in bombs. And then, you know, they start worrying about drawing through the deck. It's like Plagues on steroids. I wonder if like Plague Death Knight would run a card like this. I'm optimistic to say I don't think this card is going to be like a main win condition, but I don't think people would like not put this in their deck. Highlander probably, sorry, I hit my mic. Highlander decks probably want a card like this for the most part, but I don't know. I'm not like, holy moly, this card's going to be so bad to play against. Bombs don't really do that much unless there's a lot. So if you literally can't kill this card and you're sitting there like, why am I even trying? Like, yeah, then it's going to feel bad, but I don't know. I'm not too worried about it. Then we got the Headless Horseman. But yeah, that's the mini set. This was a lot of talking. I hope this was fun. That's my overall thoughts on this entire thing. I think that overall, like this is a pretty weak mini set, and which is unfortunate because I don't know how much the metagame is really going to change. They kind of need to do something a little bit more drastic, in my opinion. So I hope there's nerfs. I hope there's some buffs. Let me know what you think down below, and I'll catch you guys later. Thanks for watching.